Hey guys, Matthew here. As promised in the YouTube post I made last night, today will be the video where I make about how to unlock all the crafts and the ones you should really rush and aim for at the beginning of the league. And I'll be going over all of that pretty shortly. I'll try to make this a quicker video, so I'm not going to explain everything because a lot of things are subject to change. As far as I know, basically with every Atlas shuffle, whenever they re-tier certain maps and stuff like that, the actual location of the crafts gets changed. I'm not 100% sure about that, but if you guys have played and paid attention to the last leagues, for example, if life level 4 was located in Plateau, please let me know in the comments, because then this would stay relevant permanently, and you wouldn't have to, actually ever need to recheck where to get certain crafts, but I'm pretty sure it's volatile. Another thing is the price of the actual mods is also volatile. For example, hits can't be evaded last league was an exalt. This league it was 3 exalts. Still, basically the way I made this, and this is basically in my my trading database, which is not available to the public, but I will be basically doing a copy paste of all of these things and putting them in the description of this video. So then you can just go ahead and copy paste that in your own little database or in just a Word document or whatever, and just save it and have it available for later. So how I made it is basically all the red mods are the mods that you want to rush and put priority on. The black ones are ones that you don't care about so much. That being said, another thing, this is also volatile in a sense that this is basically based on the melee meta right now. The fact that people are playing a lot of melee builds, and the fact that people want things like unarmed and melee range. They want things like percent damage. Well, I guess they always want that, but attack speed quality, all that kind of stuff that is more melee focused. In another league, for example, Synthesis, where everybody's playing Winter Orb, this would change pretty drastically, where spell damage might be quite a bit more sought after, and critical strike for spells and that kind of thing might be sought after quite a bit more. So obviously, this is subject to change, but for the most part, it's going to stay kind of relevant. And I'll also be giving you guys a quick little tip that I use at the beginning of leagues to invest, because the price of veiled items are very, very cheap and the supply is very high at the beginning of a league. So I'll be showing you guys a nice little trick for that. Otherwise, yeah, so you want to focus on the red name mods, elemental resistance, for example, like level 3, the double resistances. This one would be, for example, in Merc Lab. The Temple of Atsuatl, I would recommend if they're very good in a given league. So, for example, this league Chaos Damage level 3, which was really good for the ED Contagion boys, as far as I can remember. You couldn't get, without actually going in the Temple of Atsuatl. But note that you can actually pay for those, and you can also use prophecies to farm those. Like, you could use the Alva prophecies. But if you're actually linking as, like, up to half the rooms or so in every temple you're running, and you're actually prioritizing, these specific chambers, whatever the ones you want are, you're going to be getting these pretty damn fast. So it's not something you should worry about too much. Just run your alvas. If anything, buy a few prophecies here and there. Run your dailies, and you should be getting these pretty quickly. Now, otherwise, another thing to note on the prophecy chain to reach the Pale Court for the multiple crafted mod, you can skip literally all of them if you wanted to. You could just buy a Pale Court set, run that, kill the bosses, and you could get multiple crafted mods. That being said, it's not something I would necessarily advise. But things like cannot roll caster and cannot roll attack mods are very specifics, and not that many people, even very intensive crafters, are going to end up using them. So for example, if you wanted to try to save yourself a little bit of money or just time and headaches, you could just go with suffixes cannot be changed and prefixes cannot be changed. And what you could do is simply buy the prophecy when it's already level 4 or level 5, run it, and unlock the mod without having to start from a super low level prophecy. If you can get them at good prices, for example, Legion, they were pretty much dirt cheap. In other leagues, they weren't necessarily be as cheap, since in Legion, the Legion mechanic was actually dropping the prophecies as high as level 5. So wasn't exactly fair towards other leagues. Still, though, they're not that expensive. All right. Otherwise, the unveiled mods are also, subject to change. It kind of depends, um, with the meta. So, for example, hits can't be evaded was a very big priority this league, and same for like levels of support gems. Because of the ED contagion people, running ED bows, wanting +2 support gems for their empowers, things like that. But for example, in a league where nobody plays ED contagion, you probably wouldn't want to invest early into weapons from Katarina, because even if they weren't necessarily that expensive, which they wouldn't be, but the supply would be pretty low because it requires you to run the actual mastermind, which not that many people can do, especially early. So that's some stuff to keep in mind. But remember that red is the things you want to aim for, at least if the meta stays relatively close to what it is in Legion. And the dark ones you'll probably get along the way anyways, but the ones that are like unveiled, so for example, crit chance added chaos on crit by unveiling gloves, would simply not be a priority. But you might just get it eventually as you unveil items, so long as you're actually running your syndicates. Now that we've gone through this, and you guys can you'll be able to read all this because it's going to be in the description of the video, so I don't have to go over every single one of them. A quick little trick and tip that I can give you guys to get those early. So the very specific ones. This works pretty much only, well, not only, but mostly for the very specific ones. So for example, if I wanted to craft boots, right? Let's say I wanted, or rings, or whatever it is. Let's just go with boots. Let's say boots. So I was gonna craft boots next league. So I know that I'm gonna be crafting boots. So I want cannot be frozen, which is a Rin Yushu mod. Cannot be frozen is a level 4 Rin Yushu mod. So what that means is I'll be needing to unveil a ton of boots from Rin Yushu to actually, unlock the cannot be frozen mod, because it's level 4, so it's going to require quite a bit. It's also not a very easy mod to get. So what I can do to help myself as much as possible, for example, on the trading website, I could simply write Rin in here, or veiled. Let's see. So in here, by just typing veil, you can find all the veiled masters items, and of the veil or veiled are simply just any item, right? But all the ones with names are actually linked to that master. So for example, if I was going for Rin, as you can see right here, I was doing Rin items, I could get a bunch of pair of boots for 5 chaos each. It goes up pretty quickly, it seems, to 9 chaos, and so on and so forth. But at the beginning of the league, these would probably be a lot cheaper. I could be wrong. I actually never farmed for the cannot be frozen mod. But for example, if we look at any and look at the cheapest ones, a month ago people were posting them for a chaos, 2 chaos, 19 days ago, 2 days ago, 2 chaos, 2 chaos. So fair enough. Pretty fair to assume that you could snipe these on like the first day of a league or second day of a league, or whenever you start your boots crafting. You could snipe these by basically going under filter and putting a buyout price and putting a max buyout price, for example, of 2 chaos. So then what it would do, it would only whoop boots. So for example, if I was to go to any, it would only whoop these boots, right? So I could activate a live search whenever they're under the price that I put it at. So 2 chaos would be the max buyout price, and it's chaos orb equivalent. So for example, for some reason it could show like 4 fusings if the website isn't completely bugged out and people are posting like sulfite scarabs for less than a chaos. Bugs aside though, you could just basically whoop these up on a live search, and whenever they pop up, you buy them up to enable you to get your cannot be frozen craft as fast as possible. And that would apply to anybody who wants to craft, let's say, really good boots early. If your strategy is nothing to do with crafting boots and maybe everything to do with crafting, for example, percent damage on rings, what you could do, or belts as well, you'd basically do the exact same thing. Instead of going Rin, though, you'd go Leo. So you get the Leos veiled. And as you can see, people were posting these for a chaos each, 2 chaos each. You could do the exact same thing, putting a max of like 2 chaos each, activate the live search, and whatever they pop, you pick those up and get your actual access to the percent damage as fast as possible. So as you can see, this one there's only 3, so it should be easier than the Rin one. Note though that the percent damage on rings is actually, I wouldn't say hard, but a lot more rare, say, than let's just say this one over here, or other ones. Anyways, it's how it feels. Obviously, I don't have actual numbers on this, but it's how it feels. Note though, you could even go as high or as low as 1 chaos buyout, and it would still actually pick up some of them, because the reality is that some people, they'll do their syndicates or whatever, drop the veiled item, and then want the currency. They won't even look if it's actually Leo or anybody else, and they'll just put it up for a chaos because it's a veiled item, and veiled item at that point in the league, very early, like a month ago, go for a chaos. So you can just snatch those up, and you could literally go as far as to resell them for 4 or 5 chaos, because people are really going to want those. I'm not saying it's a good idea to do that, but I'm saying if you know what you're doing, and if you've studied your markets, and if you know some people are trying to craft specific items, then it's actually a good strategy. If you know that people are going to need hundreds, for example, or 100 to reach, that tier 3, which is a completely arbitrary number that I'm just throwing out there. But if you know they're going to need 100, and you go in to whoop them up at a chaos each, and you can get 20 for a chaos, realist them all up for 3 chaos, they'll probably all be sold within, a couple hours, and all of a sudden you've tripled your money. I'm not saying it's the best way to make currency, and I'm not saying to go out and do it. I'm just saying keep your eyes opened. Don't be closed out to any possibilities, because you'd be very surprised. Actually, a good example, I guess, for this would probably be, what's his face again? The mana cost. Oh yeah, Elrion. So Elrion is probably one of the bigger ones, if I had to guess. So for example, you could pick them up for 2-3 chaos. Wow, this might be price fixed, I'm not sure. 11 days ago, 4 days ago, whatever. But if you go to online only, they're literally, 30 chaos. So you could whip these up. Somebody makes a mistake, puts them up for 1 chaos, 2 chaos, because they just see a veiled item. Well, what do you know? You just basically made a 1,500% to 3,000% return of investment on sniping that one item. I'm not saying people make these kind of mistakes often or anything like that, but when they do, you can profit off of it, and it's not scamming. That's another important thing to note. People would say, "Oh wait, but that's scamming. It's taking advantage of your players." And to that I say, well, it comes with learning the game. You're gonna lose some, you're gonna win some. I got scammed, more than enough myself. That being said, if you want to prevent and help that person from getting scammed again, what I typically do when I'll snipe something from somebody, for example, I snipe a ring that's 5 chaos, that's actually worth like 2 exalts, and I was doing that a ton earlier in the league. I'll go ahead and buy for that 2 chaos, 5 chaos, whatever. And then I'll tell the person, hey dude, so you made a mistake. That ring's actually worth, X amount. It's worth like 2 exalts. I'm not going to give you 2 exalts, because otherwise, where's my profit going to go, right? I'm not even going to give you an extra 5 chaos. But I'll explain to you why it's worth that much, and how you could make it be worth that much next time you get a ring like this. And for the most part, a lot of people, some will get mad and, call you whatever. But for the most part, 90% of people are going to be like, hey man, thanks a lot. You win some, you lose some, and that's kind of the mentality when going into PoE. It's such, a broad game. There's so many things you can do, so many things to learn, and they appreciate the fact that at least you're telling them, hey dude, you just got scammed. You just scammed yourself. So, anyways, I think I said this was going to be a short video. It's been going on for long enough. Be sure to check the description for all of these. And otherwise, on a final note, I want to say a huge thank you to Jose, which is my one and only Patreon right now. But he actually subscribed to like the biggest tier because the dude's got the biggest dick in the world. So thank you a whole bunch for the support. As for anybody else, if you're interested, check out my Patreon, where you can actually gain access to this kind of spreadsheet, which is pretty insane. So that's going to be Matthew signing out. Until the next one. Peace.